Hi, well today we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to do a little bit of domestic because I need to do repair on my favorite shirt that I use when I'm working on the cabin. That is my great Calvin Klein shirt that I made the little pocket for my marker. The sleeves on this are just about had it. Getting rat-tailed, they're kind of falling in the way and all. So I'm going to repair this and put like a little cuff over here and cover that up, and so that this shirt will last a little bit longer. So the first thing, of course, I'm going to do is I have to measure and see how long of a piece of material I need and cut that material. So I'm going to move the camera down here so you can see this. And I'm going to have to take off this buttonhole too, because I need to make and sew this material on right along this. I don't want to make a new buttonhole or have to, redo, but I'll have to take this off because it'll get in the way of the foot. But I'm going to follow right along. It's really nice that this has stripes because I can follow right along that mark to put my material on and to cover that up. So first thing I have to do is measure how wide of a piece of material I need and how long. So on the width, I'm going to need a piece of material that is at least the width or the length from where I'm going to sew over to the edge twice. That's 1 inch, so that would be 2 inches. And then I'm going to need a 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. Now this particular piece of material I've chosen has a nice edge on it. This is just a scrap from an old shirt. But if I didn't have this edge, I would want to make another 1/4 inch wider so I could fold it under on the back side. But this has a nice salvaged edge, so I don't need to worry about that. But I do have to have my 1 inch on both sides, so that's 2 inches, and a 1/4 inch on both sides. That's 2.5 inches for the width. And then I'm going to need to have a 1/4 inch hangover on each end and the length of this. So right now we're going to go over here. It looks like we have 9.5. Stretch that out. A little over 9.5, so at least 10 inches. I might make it just a little bit longer. I might make 10 1/8 of an inch long. So I have this piece of fabric here that I cut off already. We'll see. Yep, it's 2.5 inches wide. And let's see the length. I haven't measured the length on this one yet. And what did I say? 10 1/4. Oh, I said 10 1/8. I have 10 1/4. I'm just going to leave it the way it is because I can trim that extra off at a later date. So now I got to take off this button. And these buttons I already did the other one because I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing before I did this video. These buttons are just really put on there well. So I'll just clip those stitches and get that little booger off of there and put him aside. Pull the little stitches out. You always want to pull out your extra stitches because they'll hang up in your sewing machine and bog the bobbin up and mess it up. So we'll pull all those extra threads out. Okay, got all the threads out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is line this up with the salvage edge towards the garment and this edge that I want to sew on towards the outside edge, because that's what we're going to do, is sew it here and then we're going to turn it over. And so if you have a piece of material that has two sides, like a front side and a back side, you'll want the front side that you want to show laying on down and the inside laying up. And so since I have those nice, let's see if I can make this bigger. Nope, it won't let me. Cannot zoom in and out. Oh, anyway, I don't know why it won't zoom in and out here. It does outside. Anyway, so I'm going to line it up on that stitch and just very carefully give myself only a quarter of an inch. But I want to have it overhang my 1/4 inch also. I'm going to get that there and line that up just by that little, there's a little kind of almost a white line there. And I'm going to put these pins, let's see, yeah, I'm going to pin them on this side. And I want the heads of my pins to the right of my garment so that when I'm sewing I can pull them out easily. You'll see that. So I'm just going to kind of line that up on that line there, all the way across here. And I'll get that down to the end. Got a little bit of a bad spot right on that seam, so I might have to sneak that over a little bit. Look close. See right on my edge, it's pretty well frayed there. One thing I could do is just zigzag over that. I think that's what I'll do. Otherwise it'll make things, it'll have a wow in it and that won't work when I turn it inside. So I'm going to take that over to the machine and do a little zigzag on that. I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So you see I did a quick zigzag. That'll help hold that together so I don't have to go off of my line. So I'll finish putting this down there and down to the end. Get that lined up. Get my pins in. One, 2, 3. And at this end it's just above where I took the button off. And there. And so you see at the end we have an overhang of material, about 1/4 of an inch. And at this end, a little more than 1/4 of an inch, but I can trim that after I've sewn it. So we'll move over to the machine and sew that. Okay, we're at the machine, and I'm going to line that up on that line, little white line, about 1/4 of an inch over seam allowance, and just sew a straight stitch. And it's about 2 1/2. You don't want it too tight because then if you make a mistake you can't undo it, which I did earlier. Okay, got my, lift the pressure foot and get that started. Put the pressure foot down, a little bit of back and forth to make a knot. You see where I can just pull these pins out as I go. Okay, we'll cut that off. Get that threads out of the way. Okay, so now you can see where we would turn this over, turn that under, and on the outside a nice seam or cuff, and then on the inside we'll sew across it. But at the ends we have an issue here, so we have to take care of that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go back over and show you how to do that. Okay, so we want to be able to have a seam across here like that nice seam. And so what we're going to do is, with this thing facing the outside, we're going to fold this in half, and we're going to allow that piece there to be folded under. We don't want to do it like this. We want to go ahead and let that tucked under piece be tucked under. Hope you can see that. And then we'll fold this over it this way. And then we're going to sew right across here is without clipping the garment right across there. And so I'll pin that. We'll do that on both ends. Probably only need one pin. Both ends. We've got these frayed threads hanging out, and I will cut those off. So both ends have been pinned and ready to sew. So we'll move back to the sewing machine. Okay, so I'm going to stitch that, and I'm going to kind of fold this back. See this? Maybe you can't see this very well. I'm going to fold the garment back enough so that I can just start right here in the very tip corner and come straight across on both of those with a straight stitch. Get my needle started. Pull that pin out. A nice back stitch. Cut it right up there on the machine, or if you need it to get closer, you can use your scissors. Get those threads out of the way, and then do this side. Make sure that's not up there, so you end up stitching that to it. I've done stuff like that. Hold that back out of the way. Okay, now we'll turn this, what you would call right side out, and turn that little corner inside itself, and then that tucks over the top. But this is all clumpy up here, so we're going to trim it. So I'm going to take and trim off very carefully. The lighting on this one isn't very great, but I'm going to trim off very carefully these corners. So it's like that. You can see that on both sides. So that way when it tucks under, it's nice. It's not so lumpy, so your stitching won't go over it. Very carefully clip this one off. Garbage can right down here. Oop, that one didn't clip. Okay. Now for trimming off all this stuff. We'll go back over to the other place and we'll tuck it under, pin it, and be ready to sew it fast. Okay, so now is when we cut off all these ragtag threads. And we don't need to cut into the material. Just cut the extra ones that are, because they're going to all get folded in. Just get those out of the way. And now we'll turn this thing over, and the ragtag will be on the inside like that, and we will pin it. I'll start on this side, so my pins will be here, so I can follow when I'm sewing. I can easily follow this line. And, oh, actually I'm going to sew from the outside. I'll pin it and I'll sew from the outside so I have the same distance from this edge over and it'll look nicer. But I have to get this on the inside in the right place so it'll catch it. So we'll lay that down. And if you wanted to at this point, you could take an iron and iron it. I'm not going to. But since I'm going to sew from the other side, I want to put my pins in such a way that they're kind of from the inside, like that. Then when I turn it over, they'll be in the right place. I want to make sure that this is over the edge of that. Now, you can see where I did my zigzag stitching. This is going to cover that up. Nice. This, you might, if you were having a hard time doing this, you could stitch it from, or pin it from this side, and then when you get to the turning it over, move the pins. Kind of get them in place. Good. And it's always good to put one at the very end. You know, when I go to turn this over, which is the way I'm going to stitch, I want to see those pins, so I'm going to move these, hold it tight with my thumb and finger, and move these over, and then just make sure, oops, close up, just make sure that there, once I'm done with moving my pins, I'm going to look over on this side and make sure that it's still all lined up and covering up the icky. Okay, so we'll go sew that on and we'll be done with that part. Okay, I'm trying to get the camera a little closer so we have a closer close-up. I can move my machine out a little bit. Try and see that. Anyway, okay, so here we are. We're going to stitch like a 1/4 inch in from here. We don't want to stitch too close to this edge. I realize I'm seeing this backwards. It'll probably show correct after it films, but anyway, because then we'll miss this edge. We want to catch this edge on the inside, so we want to make sure we go over 1/4 inch approximately. And we'll put that in there again. Get our foot down. Now this is still kind of fat, so I'm going to push it back in just a little bit beyond the fat edge, and then I can back stitch. Get a couple going, back stitch. Hopefully it'll go forward without getting my finger caught, and pull out the pin. Pull out the pin. You can see that. Okay, so we have a cuff, and then all I have to do is sew the button back on. And I could iron that. Nice new cuff. Yeah. And it's a work shirt, so I'm not really concerned about the color being different. It's kind of cool. I like the brown with this other color. I put a patch on here earlier. I caught it on one of the stobs on the log. I had to put a patch, and that's the same color, so it's kind of cool. Anyway, I'll sew the button on and then try it out. It'll be cool. Okay, so I decided to show you how to do the button. Sew it back on. You probably know, but anyway, I just double the thread, brown thread, because it's my new material's brown. Make a little knot in the end. Okay, and then I'm going to put my button exactly where it was before. You can see the little spot where I pulled it off. So first thing is I'm going to go from the back side up through, stick the button on, doesn't matter which hole, and then I'm going to come back down through opposite button, and then into, oops, opposite side of where that hole is. And when I come on the back side, I'm going to pull up that where my little tail and knot is, and I'm going to separate it and put my needle through there so it catches, it makes the knot on the back side. And then I'm going to do 5 stitches on each side of this. Is one of those crisscross buttons, so I'm going to do 5. That one was 1, the first one was 1, and so here's 2. And oops, 3. See it. 4. And 5. And then when I come down on this one, I'm going to move over to the other buttonhole and do the crisscross. That one's over to here, without getting my finger. Oh, I did that one wrong. Oh well. That one's going to have 6 because I missed the hole. Okay. I was looking at the camera instead of what I was sewing, and then I got a little loop. Okay. Sides. Can't see very well with these glasses. Okay. Now I'm in the other one. And so this is my first stitch across. 1. 2. I need to move this down a little bit more so you can see what I'm doing. 3. Oops, wrong hole. 3. This is a little bit tough material here. 4. It's a little harder when you're trying to show somebody how to do it. And my last one, 5. Okay, now when I get back to the back, make my knot. So what I'm going to do is tuck underneath some of those threads. And then to make this knot, I'm going to take the loop, I'm going to go through the loop, and I'm going to tighten that loop up. And then I'm going to go back through this loop that I just created. Okay. Back through this loop, and it makes a nice knot. And then I'm going to cut it off. And there. So, nice buttonhole or button for my sleeve. And we have it. Okay. I think I'm going to turn the iron on and iron this also. So it'll be nice and smooth. Right back. Okay, I got my iron hot. It's on the wool setting because this new piece is kind of a wool blend. This is cotton, I think. And I have it up for steam, so we're just going to iron this real good. And get that looking good. Ouch. Woo, that was a little bit too warm. And we'll do this one. Then I will be done with this project. It's a nice project to do on a day like this. It's kind of cloudy, overcast, and rainy. And this really needed to get done before I work again because those frayed ends were starting to hang down and could have caught on something and not been too pleasant. So, all right, there. Oh, nice and neat. Nice and neat cuff. Actually, I should probably put it on this. Put on my favorite shirt. And put my cuffs. Do my cuffs. What's that? And board. Okay, there we go. Nice. Neat. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, again, thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe, make a comment. I know my last video, I didn't realize that you weren't even looking at the little knot chunk of wood when I was doing it. The bright sun had me kind of blinded, and I thought I was aimed at the right log, but I wasn't. So anyway, nothing is perfect. Anyway, we'll catch you next time. Thanks again. Bye.